Good morning, my colleagues, the senior management team of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. Good morning, my colleagues from the communication unit of the ministry, and good morning to you, the press. We called this press conference primarily for two functions. One, intermittently we receive questions, we receive concerns as to the delay of the postings. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education has a tradition that before schools are closed, postings are released, even before the schools are closed. Unprecedentedly this time around, schools closed without the postings being released. And as such, now that the postings have been released, some concerns have been raised, and we thought the best way to do it is to call a press conference, one, to share with the general public, but more importantly, to share with the teachers the rationale behind the late release of postings. Like my colleague have said, what we have done is to look at the teaching cadre. And in looking at the teaching cadre, we try to revise it so that it speaks to the time. We are in the 2024. The generation in which we are in requires that we need to speak to the time in everything that we do. For that reason, the scheme of service was subjected to a review, and luckily it got approval by government through the Ministry of Public Service, and we are very grateful, and we want to sincerely thank the government through the Ministry of Public Service for approving the scheme of service. Initially, we were operating on what we call Schedule 45. Schedule 45 limits the school system or the teaching cadre into an A school, a B school, or a C school, or a class 1, 2, 3 school. C is the biggest school with the biggest population, and also 3 is the biggest. But now with the revision of this scheme of service, we have moved from A to E and 1 to 5. So those people that were heading perhaps the C school would naturally now be moved to the E school, which is the biggest, and also to the 5 school, which is the biggest. So what this has done is it has created quite a number of positions, administrative positions at school level, such that people would ordinarily have to move. And in movement of teachers, we need to ensure that they are appropriately and properly placed. And that takes time. So we needed to have that time to ensure that everyone is appropriately placed before we could release the postings. We thank God that we went through that exercise, and we have completed the placement of teachers, and now we are happy that the postings have been released. You would realize that someone that may be teaching in the Greater Banjul or the urban Gambia would now be moved to the rural Gambia. It is not by any way a designed way. It's not by design. It is by default that that individual teacher is being moved from the rural urban Gambia to the rural Gambia, or from the Greater Banjul to the upcountry. That is done to ensure that that teacher is properly placed or takes his or her rightful position in the teaching cadre, because the position the individual is promoted to does not exist in the region he or she might be presently posted. Just to let you know that the number involved is hovering around 3,862 teachers that have been promoted to different levels. It is also important to know that because of the movement, someone that may be a head in Class B would be equivalent to a senior teacher in Class C and also an ordinary teacher in Class D or Class E. So that if, for example, I am the same badge with Mr. Sedi and Mr. Bah, Mr. Sedi may be asked by the promotion to head a B school. A B school is grade 9. Equally, that grade 9 would be equivalent to a senior teacher in a bigger school. So it is important that we understand this, so that you do not say that I was in the same batch, qualified the same year with Mr. Sedi, he's made a head and I made a senior teacher or a deputy head. They are all the same rank. It's the same as deputy head Class D. So a senior, a head Class B, same as a senior teacher, a deputy head in Class C, and also a senior teacher in Class D. So we may not be sharing the same status, but in terms of the remuneration or the salary attached, we are all earning the same salary. The reason for that difference is that the positions that might have taken me as head do not exist across the country. We cannot all be heads, but we will be properly placed in terms of earning. So I will not be ordinarily earning than him, neither would he also be ordinarily earning more than me. We will all be earning the same, the three of us, but our placements may be different. So it's important that teachers, one, understand and know this, so that they do not begin to say, I graduated the same year with a colleague of mine, he or she is made a head and I made a deputy. It depends on the category of schools. And I want to repeat, the lowest category is Class A, followed by Class B, Class C, Class D, and Class E. Class E is the highest paid. Then followed by Class D, then C, B, and E. So it's good that we share this with the general public, more importantly, the teachers. We'll come to the second phase of the press conference, which is the postings. We've gotten calls that my colleague has been posted to CRR. My brother has been posted to URR. My uncle has been posted to Greater Banjul. Like I said earlier on, it is not by design that I decide to post Mr. Sedi to URR. It is not by design that I decided to post Mr. Batu LRR. What we have done this time around is to remove every name on that posting list and only deal with employment numbers, such that I do not know who carries the employment number 103841. Neither would I know somebody who carries the employment number 111517. But that will be run through a system looking at one, your year of graduation, your qualification, your longevity, among others. And that system will now place you and say, you should be promoted to principal Class B in the case of basic cycle and upper basic, or you should be posted to head Class A and then deputy Class B and also senior teacher Class C. because all these three are of the same rank. So we look at the schools where these vacancies exist, and that's how you are posted to a particular school or to a particular region. So it is not in any way by any wish or by any design that we post people to a particular school or region. No. It is by the fact that the system, one, censors you and realizes that you have to be promoted to a particular level. And that's what the committee has done. And maybe at this point, I need to commend that committee, which was led by my Deputy Permanent Secretary Programs, Mr. Adama Jimbajo. Unfortunately, he's not here with us this morning. He's out on other assignments. But through him, I want to commend the team that did the postings. And it was very participatory because it was not only limited to the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. All the other relevant stakeholders were invited, like the GTU, since the teachers are their members and their welfare is of great concern. We also involved other partners who have a stake in the entire process, just to show you how transparent and participatory the process was. So we want to share with the general public, more importantly our teachers, to say that we did not do what we did because we want to do it. No. We wanted to ensure that our teachers, one, are recognized, two, they are regularized, and three, they are appropriately placed in terms of their positions in the teaching cadre. And if you look at this, there is quite a number of movement across the country. Most of the people that have been moved from their original post in the 2023-2024 academic year are those that have been given status, meaning those that have been promoted. I can comfortably say that over 95% of those teachers that have been moved with status. So it is important that we all know that. And I will say that in as much as no system is perfect, there is over a 90% or more percentage of accuracy in this particular exercise. But notwithstanding, the sector opens up to receiving concerns, to receiving appeals, to receiving some special cases. And at each regional level or directorate, there is a team that looks at that. And if that team cannot resolve that concern, the team can escalate it to the head office, where we will also look at it. We are conscious and we are aware that there are some people with special cases. We will look at those. We are not saying as a sector that it is a first rule that once you are posted, it is done and dusted. We are conscious of illness. We are also conscious of certain predicaments that may befall some of our teachers, and therefore we review those cases and look at them. But let me emphasize or stress that it's not going to be by wish that one would relegate his or her postings and still maintain her promotion or his promotion. If you so desire to reject or to relegate or refuse or decline your postings, your promotion would also be looked at and be rescinded if it does require accordingly. So we need to have that clear. The aim of all of this is to ensure that teachers are not disadvantaged continuously. We are aware the rest of the team, my technical team, after this will be here to answer the questions and even deliberate more. They will tell you even the gender in terms of how many females have been given promoted, how many male. They will even go further to also tell you in terms of the status differently, so that you have an appreciation of what has been done. So people to understand that rejecting the postings may translate to the rescinding of your promotion as well. Because if people go to the post that you were supposed to go, I think it's just proper and fair that those people also benefit from those promotions. I think with that, I want to once again thank government through the Ministry of Public Service for approving the revised scheme, which saw the creation of all these positions, and also thank the technical team that worked on this. Like a colleague of mine went to Jarasoma where they were, and she told me that, yes, PS, you have really locked your people, because she stood at the door knocking for a while before she could access one of the colleagues that was working on the postings. So since you've committed yourself, I want to profoundly recognize that and express the ministry's appreciation on behalf of the Honorable Minister, Dr. Professor Pierre Gomez, and on behalf of the entire management of the ministry. We are obliged for your efforts, and we wish that the collaboration would continue. Each time that we need you and solicit your assistance, we'll certainly be accorded the opportunity. With my colleagues at the ministry, my senior management is here. Without their support, it wouldn't have been possible. Some of them use their regions. Director Region 4, thank you for giving us the hall. Director Region 2, thank you also for giving us the hall and also the environment. And all the other directors who participated in terms of furnishing us with the information. There are some sets of teachers in the ministry that are trained for unique or special needs or skills. Those teachers, even though they might have been affected by the promotion, by the postings, let me say that you were trained for a purpose, and we cannot in any way disrupt or interrupt or stop that process that you've started. So I want to assure them that they will still be considered and be retained to continue doing what they were doing before. With that, I want to lastly thank the media team, my colleagues, my friends. Each time we call them, they are here to share, to attend to us and ensure that whatever we have is shared with the general public. We are grateful to that, for that, and we want to really thank you.
I would thank the media houses present here. My directors and other colleagues are present, and the technical team. Fortunately, and Mr. So is here with us, one of the senior technical team members, and my able director also is here. What I will do is to give you the breakdown of some of the things that the permanent secretary has just mentioned. First of all, I would start with, in terms of numbers, the schools. Prior to this categorization of schools, we have 47% of our schools we are not categorized. What are the implications of that? It means that 47% of schools were manned by people who are called headmasters, but in reality they were in charge, and it has implication in terms of earning. As a result, we can proudly tell you, as of today, our total number of schools 797 have all been categorized. What that means? It means all the headmasters or the principal of those schools will be status holders. And it goes with promotions, with increase in terms of earning. In terms of breakdown of that 797, currently we have 82% basic cycles. Basic cycles, for those who may not know the system, it means where you have from grade 1 to grade 9 basic educations. Of course, sometimes it will include the ECD also. We also have the lower basic school, 515 of them, lower basic schools, what we used to call primary school in the olden days. We also have SoS, senior secondary school, 62 schools rather. And we have upper basic, meaning grade 7 alone, grade 7, 8, and 9 stand alone, 110. We have UBSE's where combined 23 of them. And we have this year, 5 schools are going on the board. I think if my mathematics is correct, if you add these figures, you will arrive at 797. In terms of the promotions, and the permanent secretary has given you the breakdown in terms of the aggregate number, but I'm sure there are some here who are wearing the gender lenses would want that to be breakdown. And in terms of 3,862, 1,489 are females, whereas 2,373 are male. If you add those figures, if my mathematics is correct, you will have 3,862. It is also, I think, important to inform this gathering that out of the number that have been, there's 3,862, we have people who have never benefited promotions, never got promotions. In the lower basic sector, we have 2,496 who have never been promoted, and they will be recommended for promotion, subhanallah. Lower basic is 1935, 1,935. The UBS is 561. A total of 2,496 never been promoted, have been considered for promotions. The process is on, it's not yet final. As we speak, 1,366 is on the process at the PSC PMO level. The other one is on the process, is due for submission. In terms of the categorization and classifications, Mr. So would further explain what does that mean and what are the implications. But in terms of the separation of the school, basic cycles and lower basic, we have 30 new lower basic school being created. And we have 34 basic cycles and 44 SS. So in terms of the separation of this school, we have 108 new schools being created. And that gave us a total number of all together, put together in terms of number, 797. I think for now, until I come next time, I can hand you to Mr. So, who will give you the literature in terms of the breakdown of the schools, the basic cycle, the separation, what was the criteria that is used. He's an expert on that. So, Mr. So, take over.
But I go through some memory lane. That last year, when the Gambia Teachers Union embarked on an industrial strike, one of the 9 demands has to do with the need to recategorize and reclassify our schools. We want to seize this opportunity to thank the management of MoBSE for listening to us and being very receptive. We have collaborated in the best manner ever before, and that has yielded us this particular result. We do say that necessity dictates an exception, so this is exceptionally necessary. So what I want to begin with before going into the technicalities is to appeal to our members that let them not refuse posting but negotiate. Refusing posting, if you look at the Code of Professional Ethics and Conduct, it's not only a misconduct but gross misconduct, and the penalties are heavy. So don't refuse but negotiate. Like the PS alluded to, we have developed, as a member of the technical working group, have developed a regional response team. There are regional response teams in each of the respective regional education directorates, headed by the respective supervising principal education officers, and then the platform managed by the regional HR focal points, supported by cluster monitors, GT regional committee members, and the polyvalent itinerant teachers. At the national level, there is also another national response team headed by DPS program supported by Director HR and his PO. It's not even possible to say I have submitted my details to a particular officer in a region and it was not submitted. It is online. As soon as your details are keyed in, it comes straight to the dashboard and the analysis are done. So it's ongoing. To go further to that, the 797 schools, for clarity purpose, are schools directly under the purview of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. There are two types of schools. You have public and private. Public comprises of exclusively government and those supported by government called subvented or grant aided. So those exclusively under government are the 797. So for the benefit of our colleagues or our members who are within the missions and Amana, Methodist Mission, Catholic Mission, Anglican Mission, and then the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission, we have initiated the process in collaboration with the ministry. Just yesterday we had a meeting. We are supporting them to build that database, recategorize their schools, and do the needful. Then the last port of call will be the Amanas. Now coming back to this assignment, having gone over 90% satisfaction in the entire process, we felt we need to advise the Office of the Permanent Secretary to release this. But notwithstanding, because of some human errors or omissions, or probably certain gaps, we decided to identify a buffer. Close to 152 vacancies are there hanging to attend to some seemingly unintended omissions. I'm not sure whether that is right to say. So the systems and processes are in place to make sure that even those who are missing out could be factored. All you need to do is you walk across the original education directorate, key in your details, it will appear in the dashboard, we'll do the analysis and advise the permanent secretary on the next steps. Coming to the issue of categorization and reclassification. Functionally, we define reclassification as separation of schools, where you have a combination of lower and upper, which is referred to as basic cycle. When they are separated, we say the school has been reclassified. Where you have a combination of upper, basic, and senior secondary school, if they are separated, we say the school has been reclassified. So all such schools, based on our implementation guideline, that have been separated, we are done for a good purpose. One, first and foremost, we have reviewed that even though the intention was to separate all schools, we realized that some of the, not some, all the upper basic schools, the population or enrollments are influenced by the lower basic. So you may have, for instance, an upper basic school of, let's say, 700 and only one grade 7, for instance. So one class is not viable. If you separate such a school, it means you are settling for an extinction. So all upper basic schools with a population of 700 candidates, and then the upper level having more than 75 students are separated. So even if you have 700, but the upper component does not have up to 75 students, such schools are not separated. So this needs to be clarified, so that you may come across a couple of basic cycle schools which are not separated, is by virtue of the issue of viability. Because when they are separated, the SIG and subvention may not suffice, and the head teachers will find it extremely difficult to run their schools. So imagine, in the case of senior secondary school, the total enrollment should be 150. And then the upper component also should be more than 75. Imagine you have 150 students with only one class. You cannot have the required complement of teachers in that senior secondary school to provide all the subject areas. So these are some of the reasons why you have exceptionally some of the basic cycle schools and combined upper and senior secondary schools not reclassified, but they have been recategorized. Now, when it comes to recategorization, those of us who were in the system for quite a while, we used to have grade 1 to 21. And then we used to have categories A to E. And that came down to 1 to 12 and then A to C. Now, before January 2024, lower basic schools are categorized as A, B, C. C being the highest. Upper basic, 1, 2, 3, 3 being the highest. But this time around, what has happened is that the lower basic schools have been recategorized. The category has increased from C to E. So instead of 3, we have 5. Upper basic, 1 to 5. Instead of 3, we have 5. We did not only stop there, even the ECDs have been recategorized. And not only that, the senior secondary schools also have been recategorized from 1 to 5. Not only that, for the first time, even senior secondary schools on the Board of Governors have been recategorized from 1 to 3. Not only that, before today, basic cycle schools, regardless of their enrollment, we are seemingly assumed to be category 2 schools. Now we have 1, 2, 3. So basic cycle schools are 1, 2, 3. Senior secondary schools on the board 1, 2, 3. Senior secondary school on the mainstream and UBS are 1 to 5, and lower basic school A to E. When I say mainstream, directly under the purview and the administration of the of headquarters through their respective regional directorate. What does this mean? Before today, head senior masters of a category A school or category 1 school, in the case of upper and senior secondary schools, were placed on lower 7. That is grade 7.1234. Senior master B or 2 were placed on upper 7, 7.5, 6, 7, and 8. The good news is the least grade point for category A and 1 is grade 8. That used to be headmaster class A, principal 1, or graduate teacher. That is the new development. You will even realize that those who were on grade 8 last year have been catapulted to 10.5 by virtue of this development. So, until January, until the passing of this revised scheme of service, you will realize that the highest grade point for senior HMC and HM3 used to be grade 10. Now there are 6 additional grade points by virtue of this recategorization. We have now not only grade 10, but we have 10.5, we have 11, 11.5, and we have, yes, 11.5. When we wanted to get to 12, they almost brought the roof down and said, that is a non-starter, but we are happy. So correspondingly, you have 6 other new positions as contemporaries, additional to what used to happen. It means now a headmaster category E of a lower basic school would be a grade 11.5. I'm not sure whether the education officers will be frowning over this issue. But the scheme of service for officers also have been looked at. So basically, these are some of the issues